Let me let Harry
Oh, I'm
weigh in
sorry.
on this, I think. Just because he said he might have to run for something, so I wanted to give him a chance to weigh in.
Thank you. I did manage to take care of it off camera, but
Oh, you did? Okay, sorry. So Greg, go ahead and go. I
Okay,
did not mean to bump him. Yeah, hey Greg, thank you.
that's
Go ahead.
okay. For me, it's the healing stuff. So every morning when I wake up, I'm scanning. Where can I breathe? Where's the energy moving? When I'm standing, I'm scanning. And the amount of stuff that I have to work through, I'm finding is always larger than I expected.
Sure.
And so while I do work jings and things, there
Jings
is
and things.
something with jings and things, man. Go to jingsandthings.com. But
You heard it
I
here
do,
first.
I do find that there is some stress going into the deeper places. It's not exactly stress, but I mean, there's a challenging to maintain focus, to maintain calm while experiencing something uncomfortable so that you can then move it is a good place for me to develop a larger mental space, I guess.
Okay. The one thing I'm going to recommend there, if I heard you correctly, would be to, when you're doing that, like you're kind of very mentally in there,
Mm-hmm.
stand off a little bit. So you're not changing the time. It's not that you're going into the past or future. You're doing it now.
Right.
But think about being the observer, stand off a little bit. And that's a mind training on its own, to
Yeah, I
be
get you.
the observer, see the part of you that's thinking and doing, and give yourself a little bit of space so that that tension doesn't get put in there as it goes with you, that you're able to see it and then basically go, okay, but I'm actually wanting to do this, so I'm going to put that aside while I then continue, because I'm just exploring what's there. And then if there's a problem, it's something I'm wanting to let go of, and do that work that way. Ideally, then you're by doing that, and carefully, I'm not talking about like try to push it all out at once or anything else that would add tension. It's just to be very calm, like you're watching it and going, okay, I see that. Let's go ahead and let that go out of there. Okay, there's the issue, and that you're kind of standing off to look at it enough so that you're not introducing more tension or fighting with it,
Yeah,
and that
it's
you're willing to give it a little bit of time if it's needed to handle it. So,
right. No, I'm trying to occupy that space comfortably, but if it is a real issue for me, there is discomfort inherent in that thing.
absolutely. Yeah, and
And
that's why
so
I'm
I'm
telling
talking
you at
about
that point,
that.
if I feel that, that's when I'm going to take that observer distance a little bit. And unless because if you're being mentally very intimate with it, if it's adding pressure, that's when I'm going to back out of there just a little bit.
Right. Yeah.
And then it depends. Sometimes it's something where you really got to come to terms with it. You know you're going to work through it, and you're like, I'm good for that. And so then you're going to do that. But at the same time, I think the word that I'll use to tell you there would be, yes, continue, but now also add in patience. There's a tendency you get something like that, you want it gone now. And there's this tension that comes along with that. And so be willing to have the patience of, okay, this is going to take a minute. And then I'm really going to have to understand little odd and end aspects of it and ramifications of it and other things, and realize the things that I really can and maybe should let go of, and versus the things where it's, no, that's when I better put a little thought into that, or okay, I see there's an action here I need to take, so it's appropriate to where I'm at with that, and that kind of a thing. And then be patient with yourself for doing that in the ongoing hours, days, weeks, depending on months, depending on what it is that comes off of that, because you don't want to introduce tension or more emotional energy baggage on top
Right.
of whatever it is that's already there.
No, I got you. That makes great sense.
And that's working with the Jin, not Shen, the spiritual, but the Jin, like the emotional aspects of the mind. And it's in the body wise, you'll feel that typically in the center chest. It's a middle Dantian kind of work, but still does tie in directly to your mind's interaction with the E through that space in the body. You know, and if somebody says, well, wait a minute, no, your mind's all in your head, I'll be like, we know from Western science that the gut is this other mind in the body. And I will tell you that there are other minds in that, including like our heart, which is a way of getting to where that emotional energy and that kind of thing is. So there is an aspect of mind in there, an important aspect of mind in there. So by aspect, I don't mean it's just, oh, there's a little bit of mind in it. I mean, if it was a pie and you cut it into 8 slices, you cut it 8 equal slices, there's, different parts of E that are going to be, each one of those slices is going to represent, and they're not all the same size and all that stuff, depending on what it is. But anyways, and so this is one of the slices.
I got it. It makes good sense.
Cool. Is that helpful for the work that you're doing, or is that kind of how you've been going about it, or?
Mostly how I've been going about it. I mean, there are times where it's the patience is actually probably the most difficult thing, where I'll feel something and I'm like, well, yeah, we need this change now.
Yeah.
and that kind of thing of like, I'm just going to be comfortable in the presence of it. I'm going to, again, broaden my internal space, recognize that some shift or even becoming aware of it is a step, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, that's right. Well, and also if it's something that is uncomfortable or unpleasant, or, hey, I need to fix this or adjust this, but there's part of you that's kind of like, not so much, then part of that patience is also giving yourself the time to, because obviously you're having a feeling about that or an emotional response to that. The bigger question I would have working with that kind of thing is, do you know why? And it might be, well, yeah, I know why. They hit me in the head with a bottle, cracked me over the skull. Okay, but that was then, and this is now, and what's that situation now? It's not any better. Okay, well, what's that got to do with today? Or are you still in that situation somehow? Or can you fix that? Because maybe that's that's part of your psyche's way of saying, I really need that to be gone. And what's that?
But some of this is spiritual. So some of this is emotional, and some of it is stuff that has been attached to me.
I get you.
And some of it, like in the womb kind of stuff or generational kind of stuff.
Sure.
And so some of it does follow much more that emotional kind of thing. And some of it is like, wait, this thing has been on me almost all my life. And what is it? And where is it? And how do I get that thing and, move it off? And that's what I was saying earlier. A lot of the work that I'm doing now is getting kind of weird to talk about. But it's definitely having some real changes.
Yeah, and the good news is that I'm very well versed in that stuff. In fact, I'm making a note in case I didn't put it into the next level program. There's a couple simple exercises that pertain to this directly that I need to address there. And by the way, I've done enough work on the other program already to know that there will be that program and then there'll be another one after it. I'm not planning on putting another program in there for anything else that pertains to this. It's stuff that really is going to be more appropriate going through the push hands, internal push hands. Going through the internal push hands curriculum, but there'll be this thing that'll be like a 4.5, 5 day workshop, and then there'll be one more like it after that. And part of it is there's some stuff in there where there's some stages to it where it's advanced enough that I'm going to have to give you the stuff to work on at the level you're at now. And this is saying that you're at levels, let's just say there's 12 levels, and this is this level 6, 7, 8, 9. Then there's some stuff in there that's prep that you're going to need as an understanding and a working ability to do levels 10, 11, and 12. And so, anyways, and so I'm being careful to properly manage the curriculum like that for doing that. Anyways, okay, good deal. And then, was there anything else in that, or next?
No, next. And
Next.
in fact,
Okay.
my device is dying a little bit here. So
All right.
Sorry, Harry. Love to you.
Harry.
Oh, I'm going to talk about you, Greg, so it's all good. No,
No worries, brother. I wouldn't expect anything else.
I'm going to pick up where you left off. We're talking about weird stuff. So one of the things that taught me how to use e-skill and stay calm about it, a calm mind, is this little device here, the Eggley wheel, which may or may not show well on video. So when you first get this thing, it's a little thing that just sits inside. It's not magnetized. There's no trick to it or anything like that. You can set that down, assuming there's no airflow in your room and it's moving because of that. And you can put your mind on it and make it spin either direction, make it stop, speed up, slow down. And when you first try to do this, I think it's fairly safe to say most everyone is way too intense looking at it. Go, come on, move, out of the mind. And that is exactly what you don't want to do. You want to be very calm. You look at it, you're directing your mind at it. Of course it's going to move to the right because that's what I want it to do. But I'm not going to do that. And that really taught me how to have calm mind, yet direct it. And then, of course, it wouldn't be clear Tai Chi if I didn't love it in push hands. It's such a difference. So when I visited Chris Walsh up in Maine several months ago, just before the pandemic, I pushed with Chris just using a physical Lee skill. And it was a very nice exchange, very good. And I said, okay, because Chris hadn't felt this from me yet. I said, okay, I'm going to do something that's a little unfair. I just want to see what, you think's going on. And I turned on E-skill and I put my mind all throughout him and spread it out. And I could feel every last thing going on inside him at a completely different level. And when he went to push me, it's like, what on earth is going on? What are you doing? And to him, it felt like I was softer. And actually I was, because I wasn't using anywhere near the level of Lee. And so naturally I love that. And then you can do some pretty cool stuff with that. For example, you can have someone connect to you and do a fairly big physical wave into you. And if you are holding all their points of movement and tension and such, when your E is directed into them, and this isn't to say, I've got this magic E, don't misunderstand. There's got to be some Lee and proper structure, posture, all of that stuff going on. But it is a whole different equation when you have your mind in them. So I've done it to one of our other instructors, Paul Shansky. Now, he's a small guy, but nonetheless, he could move me if I let him with wave and didn't bear down like a big ox. When I turned on E, he just bounced right off me, waving into me, going, what the heck are you doing? So naturally, I love working it for that.
Let's see, Chris?
No, I was just going to be prepared in case Harry wanted to talk more about the experience. But I will say that when Harry turned on the E and I felt that for the first time, my feeling was that, I felt like I was a child working with a grown man. And there was just nothing I could do. It was just very interesting, and it helped me a lot to have that experience. So thank you, Harry.
Yeah, absolutely. And then we reversed it. I shut off all E-skill, and I just used Lee on Chris, and he learned to. And it was the same thing. I go to push into him, and off I go. He got it right away. It was phenomenal.
Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah, that was amazing.
Yeah, that's where all of you guys that are on the call with us, if your skill is not doing that already, put in the time and the work, because that's where you're supposed to be. So for part of what our style does and all that. So yeah, cool, excellent. All right, Art.
Okay, what I've been working on, it actually it struck me as a lot similar to what Chris was saying, in the sense of, or at least this is what I got from him, because what I'm doing is trying to use my E to, feel root, but beyond that, sort of spread it throughout the room, or see if I can get it to go throughout the room, not in the sense of pushing it, but more just sort of letting it go and letting it out, which I would compare with doing internal push hands, where it's not a strong physical push, but it's just more a relaxation and a release and letting the energy go, and see how much I feel I'm filling the room, and the sort of feedback I get from that, and also when when I do the form with that, I try to keep the sensation of E, which helps with the swimming in air sensation of
Helps with the what?
swimming in air.
Swimming in air?
Swimming in air.
Yeah.
Yeah, sort of like it's like water and air, sort of, which is one of the analogies I have for Tai Chi, and try to keep that, because when I keep that, I know my E is on, but also that my structure is good and alignment and song. And I've been doing that for a little while now, and I feel it's developing more, where I'm more aware of my surroundings without being directly sort of in physical contact. But also, along with it, I've tried, not quite as long and with maybe not as much success, but to send my E outward so I can, or to sort of above me to look down on me, sort of to try to almost remotely view myself.
Yeah. So literally, so far you've been talking about that you get your E to go out, get your Chi to follow that. That is the Chinese medicine, is that you put your mind on it, the E, then the Chi follows that, and then the blood will follow in your body where the focus is at, will follow that. And so that's that part. Now you're talking about more of a spiritual thing, like mind to spirit, where you've got, like, you're working on the observer looking at the other part of you acting. And of course, then the question always becomes, well, then obviously the part that's being looked at is you, but who or what is doing the looking? And it's you, but what part of you? Anyways, but yeah, so working that, and so that's taking it to a different, that's working on a different aspect of both mind, E skill, and that kind of thing. Okay.
But just like, and to continue, when I try to put my E or maybe spirit outward to look down on me, that is not very strong in me, and I don't, well, try to force it, as you say. I just sort of try to send it out there and look down, but it's not extremely strong yet. But I have it in mind, visualize it, and try to get it to go along with that.
Yeah, so instead of trying to send it out there, just see if you can, like, if you're closing your eyes, if you can feel the part of you that's a little bit more globally looking, and then don't try to send it out more. Just see if you can look and see what you're doing.
Oh,
see
okay,
what the other part of you is doing and thinking, and
right.
that'll help make that better, because you're probably introducing some tension by trying to put your mind out there like that.
Right. Okay, good. Thank you. That's pretty much my E practice. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, sure.
And now, a word from our sponsor.
What is internal power? Most people only understand external exerting power, which is another way of saying tense muscle strength. Bigger, more tense muscles equal more power. That's external power. Internal power comes from pretty much anything except tensing your muscles. There are many sources of internal power, and tapping into them is more of a mind skill than anything else. This is where the phrase mind over matter comes from. My name is Richard Clear, and internal power is what I do. Students come to me for the mind over muscle secrets of internal power that are hard to find anywhere else. Over the past 40 years, I've figured out how to get students on the fast track to effortless power. I created a one-of-a-kind online program that is getting such amazing results for my students that I put a money-back guarantee on it. Find out more at internalpowerkeys.com. That's internalpowerkeys.com. Thank you.
Matt?
So for me, I'm very much in the same kind of boat as like Harry and Greg, except that I haven't had anyone to play with lately. But because I have had practice with hands-on push hands training using the internal push hands method, I have enough sort of feedback in what in what those differences are. And so I've played the game with enough people where just like Harry, where I was pushing and had nothing, and then I really put my mind out in certain ways and did certain E exercises, and it made a huge difference where where first I had nothing, and then when I was using the E skill, it was like they had nothing. And it's that kind of night and day difference. And when you have the hands-on experience of that, where it's really, it's verified that, like, yeah, that sensation, that thing that I did with my mind had that impact, then you build up that catalog, and then you can work that skill even when you don't necessarily have someone to push with, because you know what you're after. And so it's not, it's not as good as if you were actually pushing, because there's other things that you get out of pushing. But in terms of just working the E skill, because I have had those experiences, and because I know certain things that I'm after with my mind and how to expand it and direct it and these kinds of things, I can still do those practices, and I know that I'm getting results because I've had the results already. I've seen that it makes that difference. And I know that I'm doing it right, because I know what it feels like when it's right.
I meant to cut you off here for a second.
Yeah.
I meant to say, Art, the other thing that Art talked about that was important was having his body in the right shape and the position and the zhongding and some of those skills. And those are so that the energy will move freely unimpeded through the body, and then that the mind will move freely unimpeded through the body faster and more, and with the energy. And so the essential keys to internal power, which is, what is that? Is it essentialkeys.com?
It's internalpowerkeys.com.
Internalpowerkeys.com. That is the body of material that is specifically for that, to make sure that your system is aligned and organized and working in the way that is going to be the most conducive to what we're talking about. So if you're going, I don't even know how this is possible, I've been in Tai Chi for a while, you're going to need the essentialkeys.com, essential keys to internal power. Is that right? Or is it, no, it's
internalpowerkeys.com.
Internalpowerkeys.com. Internalpowerkeys.com. Anyways, you're going to need that. And if you're having any trouble with it, even for you guys here, if you already own that video, and you probably do or whatever, if you're having any trouble that way, review that material, because that is going to be your key, like it's named, to getting you so that you have the right physical things going on that make it really conducive and helpful for doing that. Anyway, so I'm saying that because you're talking about that a little bit as well, Matt, and then from there you're talking about doing some other things to build it further. So sorry, go ahead.
No, that's I'm glad you brought that up, actually, because the other thing that I've been doing, that I have been able to do, that without partners, and that you can do, even if you've never had hands-on with another person before and never really worked E-skill through your push hands that way, there's still ways to build E, and one of them that we use in conjunction with the Essential Keys to Internal Power is the DVD that you mentioned earlier called Mind Power, or online course that's called Mind Power, and that actually is a bonus that comes along with the Essential Keys of Internal Power, and that is all working directly with the energy connections and moving them and spinning them and doing different things with energy connections, but especially with your mind. And what it is what it exactly is a plug and play workout for E-skill. That's just to follow along, do this exercise, do it this way, and it builds up that mind power, literally. And that because it goes so hand in hand with the Essential Keys, that is one of the bonuses of that program. And so that's at internalpowerkeys.com. And those are the exercises that I have been primarily doing. And that's something that you can do, even if you've had no other experience, if you're just a rank beginner and you want to get started doing it, that's the way to do that at internalpowerkeys.com.
And we use it to do in the push hands to make it much more workable and usable and something that is actually a skill set, as opposed to A, B, C, but that something you can really use. But then what I'm hearing you say, Matt, is that while we've been in this lockdown and you can't put hands on with partners, you can at least do that stuff so that then the next time you do put hands on with somebody, it should be improved because you were able to do that specific solo work.
Yes, and you know, there are other e-skills. Once you get to a certain level, there's other ways to do it where you don't have to have partners, and you can practice in other ways, and you can kind of you know, you can use people who don't even necessarily know that they're helping you with your Tai Chi or whatever, you know. But just to keep it really simple and basic for, you know, for everybody, that the Mind Power is just the most accessible and probably most powerful training that we really have for that. And it you know, it comes just right out of the gate. You don't need any prior experience to use it.
Cool. Essentialpowerkeys.com.
Internalpowerkeys.
Internalpowerkeys.com. Okay, bear with me there. All right. So now a quick word from, was that everybody that's on the call still? Okay, and we had some folks that had to leave. So now a quick word from our sponsor, and it's you can get the Mind Power if you buy the, is that normally if they go to, and what's the website again?
Internalpowerkeys.com. Mind Power is a
and Mind Power
bonus of that program. And you probably are going to want them both. And so that's the best, that is the best place to go. If for some reason people just wanted the Mind Power DVD, they can go to clearmindpower.com and it's available there. But really for what we've been talking about and for, you know, the whole range of it, the body mind connection is really important. And it, you know, the body mind training begins at the level of body. And so, you know, to really get the complete training that allows for all of this to work the way that it's supposed to go, you're going to want everything that's available at internalpowerkeys.com.
Yeah, cool. All right. And then the other thing I wanted to make sure I had told you was the Tai Chi roadmap to get a better understanding of what the steps are. It starts with Li physical. That's like learning the form and stuff. Goes through the stages, including the E stage and where that kind of fits in, and how how levels kind of graduate to each one through to the next level, and the stages of Tai Chi that you really want to be training if you're going to want to have high level internal skill. And so that's at taichiroadmap.com. It is free for that. The internal, what's the internal keys to internal power? What's the website again?
Internalpowerkeys.com.
Internalpowerkeys.com. That is not free. That is a product we have for sale, and please support us and thank you. And then at the taichiroadmap.com, if you want the exercises so that you can actually do some E exercises and then some of the exercises at the other levels as well, I think that is like $15. So cheap, but also helps support us and for the time and effort and energy that's gone in putting that up there and also doing these for you. All right, was there anything else anybody wanted to get into today? And if not, I'll tell you that for the mind skill and what's there to be had in the body of training, I at least wanted to give some overview, but really we pretty much have just scratched the surface of it here today. And I look forward to getting feedback and questions from anybody that's listening to this, whether you're doing it through one of our Facebook groups or whether you're doing it through our podcast or however you're getting it. And with questions and whatnot, please get with us, and we look forward to hearing from you and that kind of thing. Was there anything else that anybody wants to get into today?
I was wondering about that device that Harry has, if that's available.
I don't have them for sale, but you can get them online.
Okay.
And basically you can make your own. If you take a pen or something that you've got straight up that's mounted so that it's standing straight up, and you put like a paper that you've folded into a what do you call it? I'll show you. I've got one sitting here.
Folded into like a little pyramid.
There's what he means by the pyramid, is that it's you can see that the top of it, I'll have to put my finger on it, it goes so white it's not showing up. So there's the top of the pyramid, and then it's a four-sided pyramid like that. And so that sits up on top of here like that. and you can use that. The trick is to make sure you're not breathing on it. Otherwise, you're just breathing on it and moving it. It's not the energy. So, but like that kind of a thing, you can do it with a pinwheel if the pinwheel is very, you don't want to be helping it at all, or hands whistling and winding and all that. At the same time, you don't want any kind of an impediment at all either. And so otherwise you might be moving it some, but you're actually, you're fighting with it.
Yeah, to begin with, you want it to be as frictionless as possible. That's why I like the pen, or even like a needle. I'll use a needle sometimes with the paper. Maybe even put a little piece of tape up in the crease up there to reduce the friction even more. Anything you can do to reduce that friction, because the gravity is going to be enough that if there's no mental influence on it, it should stay in place. Especially if it's like under glass or in a jar or something, then there's no air current at all. But then any little bit of mind power you're exerting on it, you want to see that register so that you know if it's working or not.
Yep.
Okay, very good. Thank you.
You're welcome. Cool. And then don't get carried away just doing that as an exercise. That is building a couple of the different aspects. Excuse me. That is building a couple of the different aspects of the mind power we've been talking about, but it's not building the bigger part of it or all of it or any of that. There's a lot more. And if you ask me the most important skill out of the group, it's Tang, would be the number Ting Jing, but that's a mind skill, the listening and perceiving and really feeling like that. That's the most important one. If you can feel it, eventually you'll be able to influence it. If you can't feel it with your mind, you're not going to influence it with your mind either. Or if you do, it's a fluke, not easily duplicatable. And then of course, all the things that have to do with mental stamina and strength and all the other aspects. And then going into that more towards the spiritual end of the deal and the higher end, but not going there without these mental skills and then mental dexterity as well. How quick and how nimble and the ability to change and adapt and all that other stuff. And so there's a lot more to it. And it is specifically within the training in Tai Chi, in the indoor stuff, it's there, and it is in our system. And in our system, I am teaching it as long as you're appropriate to level. If you come in and you don't have any Tai Chi skill, no mind skill, and you're going like, teach me the higher level mind skill, I'll be like, okay, it starts with, the beginning of our art and or probably through push hands and rooting and doing some of that, and how to do that. And then I'm going to build you to there. It's not going to be, okay, let's do the highest level mind skill as if you had all the other skills that came up before that. And it's not got anything, and the only reason and purpose for that is, I'm not going to teach you how to ride a bike standing on the bike with one foot on the bike and no hands on the handlebars, and you can't sit down on a bike and just ride the bike yet. I'm going to teach you to ride the bike before I get fancy with it like that, just because of, it's just going to work a lot better. It's going to come a lot easier, common sense, hopefully. Anyways, and at the same time, if you can come in the door being able to ride the bike, I'm not going to hold you back from going to the next thing at all. I'll take you right to it. And so in our system and like that, now if you're going to study what we're doing seriously, we're going to want you to know the other skills reasonably, at least in terms of essential fundamental skills, because you're going to need them to do other higher level things. So if you only came for that one thing, that's all you wanted and you're paying for it, okay, you'll get that. But if you're really going to want to study and get to high level skills, study the basics and the essential things you need in order to get to that. And so that goes to what the couple things we promoted to you today. Tai Chi roadmap for the understanding, essential keys to internal power for having the physical ability then to actually work the energy in the mind with and in. All right. Unless there's something else any of you guys want to add, that's all I got for today. All right. Well, thank you. Great meeting with you guys again. Look forward to more. And,
thanks, everybody. Thank you, Sifu.
And anybody out there that's been listening to this and you have questions and stuff, please feel free to send them to us. We're not going to give away the store to you. At the same time, if you're working the stuff and or you bought some of our things and you're working the stuff and or you're hearing some of this and you've got reasonable questions, we're here to spread the art. And so we're gonna reasonably do that. So thanks for listening, and more next time.
Thank you, Sifu.
Thank you, Steve.
Thank you,
Thank you, everyone.
Welcome,
Take
guys.
care.
And now, a word from our sponsor.
The internal power that comes at the higher levels of Tai Chi can seem mysterious, but that is mostly because Tai Chi students don't see the big picture yet. They don't even understand what the higher levels of the art are, much less have a plan to get there. Even though the senior masters mostly agree on what the steps are, they mostly don't talk about it. On the TaiChiRoadmap.com, I outline all of the steps of Tai Chi development. Everything is explained so you know what to do, when to do it, and why. This is the complete roadmap to Tai Chi mastery with an explanation of all the steps from rank beginner to senior master. Again, that is a free course that you can access online. Go to TaiChiRoadmap.com to sign up. That's TaiChiRoadmap.com.